with me. So down it's representing me. And this is my family line here, okay? So if we go right back in time, I reckon about 500 or 600 years ago, I feel that my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandmother had a child out of wedlock, which was this child who got just farmed out, right? And away from the family because that was impossible to not be married. So she really took on what sort of energy do you think? That she was loved? No. Abandonment, rejection, but deep in the core, unlovable. Like that was her life experience. She was not loved in the nest of the family. She was rejected and abandoned, and then we take on that we're unlovable, right? And what happens is that energy, without us meaning to, even if she wanted to be the best mother in the world, that energy goes along the family line all the way to my grandfather. And it's not that the words and actions follow this, they probably do, it's the energy of it. So the energy of unlovable starts to go through the family line and it gets ingrained. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what happens between my grandfather and my mum? Same thing. Yeah, so this unlovable energy starts to go into my mum, and my mum grows up at her core feeling unlovable. So who is she likely to be attracted to? People who really feel loved and are going to love her? No, they're probably going to be people like her grandfather. Yeah. So of course that's what happened. My mum married my dad. My dad had an affair, left when I was 6 months old. So how do you think my mum was feeling? Really unlovable. Really, really unlovable. And so what happens to here? What do I grow up in the soup of? Yeah, like literally, you know, my mum's having an affair. This is all going into me, right? It's all going into my core. But it's gone right through the family line, yeah? And here, as little Mark, you know, it's really easy to be angry at mum because she didn't love me, she didn't feel any love for herself, she wasn't there emotionally there for me at all. But really, whose fault is it? Nobody's really. It goes back all the way back here where it wasn't okay to have children out of wedlock. Yeah? But on top of that, you know, my mum really took on that it was all her fault because she really pushed to have me when my dad didn't really want it. So she believed that it was all her fault. And then what happens here? This energy goes into me, and she externalized it when I was born because I look like him. So it's all your fault, it's all your fault, it's all your fault. So that's the energetic soup. So until you're about 7, that's what happens. You're taking on all of this energy. This is just a couple of examples. But then little Mark grows up with that, right? So why don't we, Joey, why don't you be little Mark? So I grow up and little Mark, he obviously has this, whose energy is this? Is this Mark's energy, my energy? No, whose is it?
Ancestral energy.
It's ancestral, it's mum's, it goes all the way down the family line. But then I need something to protect myself from this, yeah? Because I'm looking to mum for love, she feels depressed and dark. It's impossible to love when you're like that. It's just not possible. So what does little Mark do? He wants to hide and protect himself, yeah? So he's trying to put barriers up from mum. Not just that, you know, he even like puts himself on a bit of a pedestal. Just stand up on that if you can for a second.
That's strong.
There you go. And probably doing a little bit of this, you know, like stuff you mum, I don't need you. So that's my pattern. This is all the things that I would have tried to go up to mum and be a good boy. Well, did I get anywhere with that? No, that hurt more. So I tried this, I tried that, I watched TV, I watched other people, I tried all these things, and then I said, stuff you, mum. That's how I'm going to live, right? And then what happens, get down for a second, is that we grow up, but little Mark doesn't necessarily. Yeah? Little Mark stays the same, and this is the subconscious. This is the powerful subconscious. So mostly we're operating in our subconscious brain, and it's a much bigger computer than the conscious brain. So, science works out maybe 10% of the time we're in the conscious brain. When we meet a new partner and we're in love, it goes up a lot, like maybe 30 or 40%. We treat each other well. But after a while it fades, and we go more into our patterns, and we start using more of this defense. This energy starts coming out. Instead of them being wonderful and taking out the garbage in the middle of the night, they're just rolling over asleep, and they're not the same man or woman when they first met, because they're going to their subconscious. So now what happens when little Mark is looking for a partner? Now we're going to have some of these balls that represents that rejection and abandonment energy. We can have that here, and have that here, and have that here. And maybe over here we have someone who's done a lot of work on themselves, really loves themselves, would be a great match and partner. Now what do you think Mark and little Mark together, turn around, are going to be attracted to?
Black wolf.
Black wolf. That's right. They're going to be attracted to, not attracting, but attracted to what they know. So Mark, and this was for real, he wouldn't see that over there. It just couldn't see it. Literally couldn't see it. So without knowing it, he'd be looking at that one and starting to go to this one, yeah? And just say they're flirting and they're attracted to each other and start to get into relationships, so maybe you can stand up. And it's all good at the start, right? So we're not showing this, we're not standing on this, we don't have our, if you hurt me, I will do that to you. Hold that. We're just showing all our good side, who we truly are, because in our essence we are good. But then after a while that starts to fade, okay? And then she's starting to maybe demonstrate more of this, I am emotionally unavailable for you in the way that you want, okay? So that starts to play out. Now what do you think little Mark then starts to do?
Swing that sword.
Well maybe, but he's probably going to start with this. He's probably going to start with that, trying to hide. Now you get your little girl. Maybe, no, I need someone else. Maybe Mandy, if you can come up. So do you think she's going to stand for this?
No.
No! What do you think she's going to start to do? Because her way of getting attention was to demand it. So start to wrap me up in that. Wrap me up in that and start to pull me towards you. So start to pull me towards you. And then, you've got this, it's a really good match. I even found someone who's really good at saying it's all your fault. He's confused, doesn't have any clue about love at all. So what does she do? She throws this beautiful net of confusion over him. He doesn't know what love is. Is it my fault? Is it your fault? I'm confused. And so, he gets angry and upset about that and starts to use the little sword. Yeah, little sword, get away from me, I didn't do anything. And maybe stand up on his. Being really righteous about it. Yeah, like, it's not my fault, I'm just being a good spiritual person. Look at what you're doing to me! You're hurting me! And what does she feel then? gets more upset, puts more of a spell and more of a curse and tries to rope him in all of this pain and rejection and abandonment. But what is it? Is it real people's personalities or is it energy? It's all energy. But we have to know what energy is what. Right? So stand down. Just be careful. So what energy is mine?
None of it.
Well, some of it.
Not this bit.
It's like, I really don't like this. I've been here before. That woman did that to me in 1998. So, and what happens is obviously we get caught in this, don't we? You know, we say she did this and he did that, but there can never be healing in that. Because the healing's all here. It's all with us. So when we, instead of looking at them, what can I learn here? How can I grow? And we step away from that. So step back a little bit. So that will fall. Keep going back. Keep going back. Keep going back. That will fall naturally away. As soon as we ask the question, what do I have to learn here? That immediately will come off and we can start to see our stuff. When have I felt like this before? When have I felt like this before? And what are we going to come back to? Yeah, we're going to come back here. Because Mum really is in between all of our relationships. You know, just as your dad is in between your relationships. Maybe come forward. For example, you know, you've got Dad in front. So when we come together in relationship, really, it's almost on the other side. Turn around. Like that. Who are we seeing?
Yeah.
Who are you seeing?
Dad.
Yeah, and who are you seeing?
Mum.
And how far away is the real partner? You don't even see them.
Yeah.
Most people in relationships, it can be years since they've actually seen them. You know, really look them in the eyes and seen who they are without seeing all of this projection and all of this hurt. You know, just seeing them in the eyes. So, obviously, you've got work to do with your dad. You've got work to do with your mum. And this is where we can go back here. And we can identify this. It's not that hard to identify, Mum, I'm carrying around your unlovable energy. But is it even hers? How do we trace it back? And is it even this fault back here, you know? Not really. She just grew up because in a society where it wasn't okay to be a child out of wedlock. So what we can do is we can give this back. And we don't have to give it back here, even though your mum's already got that energy. We can put it into the fire. We can put it into the energy of transmutation and transformation. And we can do this too. You know, it's not all my fault, Mum. I give that back. This was more Mum's than this. This was ancestral. This was more my mum's energy. Because, you know, that's how she interpreted it at the time. It's all my fault. I stuffed it all up. I forced him to have a child. That's why he went off with another woman. Is that true? Probably not. But what she interpreted. So that's ancestral. Then we've got this to deal with. Right? And this is our patterns. So if we get rid of this, how much better does it feel? Can you feel that?
Oh, definitely.
A lot lighter. But if we still walk around with our relating, we're still likely to be attracted to people who we're familiar with. Unlovable, they're going to reject me, not. We still have to do a lot of work on the subconscious, a lot of work here on the patterns. Yeah, so this is all about safety, ultimately. Ultimately, this is how do I protect myself from the pain I feel of not being loved. And that's when we can start to work on that. I'm ready to bring down these shields. But to do that, what do we need to do with little Mark? What do you think he needs?
Pat him on the head and send him on his way.
A lot of what?
Love.
He needs a lot of love. So this is where we can pick mum, but we would pick mum as the divine mother mum. Because my mum couldn't love me the way I needed. She was depressed. Like deeply depressed when I was born for years. So this is where, this is where we need to do that, like probably soothing him, probably holding him, getting Dad in. Maybe Dad can come up, get rid of that. And Dad can be on the other side. On the other side of him. Yeah. And just maybe with a hand on the back. Yeah, and maybe just a hand on the head, and stroking and soothing him. And really bringing him back into a feeling of love and safety. You need that divine masculine strength, that divine protection. We need the unconditional love of the mother, the presence of the father, the warmth, the tenderness, the care, the intuition of the mother. All of that's needed for little Mark really to feel safe to put this down and not keep protecting Big Mark. Because little Mark's going to run the show until Big Mark does. Until Big Mark says, mate, I've got this. I love you. You're loved. And holding our subconscious, holding that little child so that our automatic patterns of protection, whatever they are, which includes like doing nasty things energetically that we're not conscious of. And we can even set up, we can be with someone who does have like a lot of love, who does have a lot of love and a bit of this, and we can pull this out of them. That little child can just do everything to reinforce that it's not safe to love. So yes, we do the give back, take back stuff, and yes, we do the subconscious, which is the child. You're loved, you're held, you're safe. I have you. What is the realm of the child? What are they good at?
Playing.
Are they good at managing adult relationships?
No.
Are they good at managing your finances?
No.
Are they good at getting a pay rise from your boss?
No.
Probably not. Are they good at giving a presentation in front of hundreds of people?
No.
Probably not. And they're all the times that we need to parent the child and let them know they don't need to be in charge. I've got this. And that's where we stand into our power as an adult. Does that make a bit of sense?
Mm-hmm.